Welcome back, and welcome back, especially if you tuned in earlier when we had Joey Harrington on. So shout out to anyone who's tuning on for twice of the Honolulu Blues today. But I got Julius with me to do a little free agency, a Lions extravaganza episode. There's a lot to talk about. So, Julius, I'm glad you're on this episode. Stinks Nick cannot make it because he's got a lot of tips and free agency comments that he'll make next week. But he wants to know he wants to let you know that he's very big on the Bug signing, loves it, and happy that he's back. So Julius, how are you doing, my man? And real quick, off the top of your head, best Detroit Lions signing so far.
Best Detroit Lions signing so far. I'm good, by the way. How you doing, Adam? Glad to be on. Best Detroit Lions signing so far. Cam Sutton. Cam Sutton. It's an immediate improvement to the weakest area of our team, and I was very very pleased with the contract details and such. But we get into that. But Cam Sutton.
Yeah, I agree. We will get into his contract details and some other. I should say some other because there's only really been one other like big time cornerback signed. Although the Lions did make another splash on in cornerback signing, but like I said, we'll get to that later. Honestly, Julius, I will let you pick where you want to start. Do you want to start right in the free agency recap, or do you want the question of the day? And if you'll take it right now, I'll pop it in somewhere in between.
I want the question of the day
Oh,
immediately.
all right. Question of the day. This one is going down to like a split decision. I asked our fans on Twitter, who would you rather take? Would you sign Levante David or Bobby Wagner? But it meant losing Jamal Williams. What would you do? Would you sign one of those linebackers if it meant losing Jamal? Or are you just ready to, keep Jamal Williams because it's at a 50.4 to 49.6%?
So I would have Bobby Wagner and Levante David and no Jamal Williams.
Well, Bobby Wagner or Levante
Okay,
David.
okay, and I'm gonna go with Bobby Wagner or Levante David, even though that pains my heart. I just feel like one of those guys would help our team more next season than Jamal Williams will.
It's crazy though. I mean, people say like, "Oh, Jamal, he brings a different aspect to the locker room." Well, who on defense is bringing that type of you know I guess player or whatever you want to call it to the locker room, and it's guys like Bobby Wagner and Levante David on defense that could do that. So it's close. We had literally nearly 9,000 people vote on it, and like I said, um, it's in favor 50.4% of keeping Jamal and 49.6%
Close.
in taking one of the linebackers.
It's
So
close because
it is
Jamal Williams is the heart and soul of the Lions currently. I really want the Lions to re-sign him, like really, really, really. That's the
yeah,
only news I'm waiting on.
he's been quiet too. There hasn't been like any, not a whole lot of Jamal Williams talk. So hopefully we're just kind of punching out a deal. I don't expect, contract issues to be a big, problem. So hopefully they can just get that done and he can be added to the list of guys that we can re-sign because as of now, I don't think we've really lost anyone. The guys we've re-signed, Anzalone, Kaminsky, Bugs, Craig Reynolds, and there's another guy I'm missing, Matt Nelson, a
Matt
few other guys
Nelson.
that are small, but any of those guys stand out to you? Obviously, Kaminsky and Bugs.
Obviously,
2 year
Kaminsky and Bugs.
8.75 million for Kaminsky and a 2 year 6 million for Bugs. I think these are very reasonable contracts.
I agree. And they deserve it the way both played, and they can both be key cogs going into next season. And I was very pleased with both contracts. But real quick about Jamal Williams again, the fact that we just shored up our cornerback group, and people are talking, Lions don't have to take a corner in the first round. Maybe that opens up the idea to Brad Holmes of having a minimum rookie contract Bijan Robinson highlighting your backfield over $5 million a year Jamal Williams. aging Jamal Williams, running back, dime a dozen. I don't know. Just food for thought.
It's interesting too because if you want to go that way, it's there's a big push of people that don't pay your running backs, just get cheap rookie running backs. That's what we see in the Super Bowl every year. Guys like Pacheco, what the Eagles just did with Sanders, Boston Scott, and Kenneth Gainwell. They're all late round picks, so it's it does make sense, but I don't think Bijan would bring that locker room, that's
I
Jamal
agree.
Williams X factor. But he's probably a better player. Honestly, he's younger. Fresh legs. Not really. I have a lot of tape in the NFL. I expect him to excel right off the bat, kind of like how like Brees Hall did, and some of the other studs their first year, like ETN, etc. But I I wouldn't be opposed, honestly, because you're taking whatever money you were getting ready to pay to Jamal and you're sprinkling it on top of some other position to make sure you get it. And if it means Bobby Wagner or Levante David, I'm all for it. And if it means, getting a stud interior defensive lineman, I don't know exactly who's left on the market, if much, but we still have a few holes to fill, and there's guys out there. We still haven't re-signed GJ Tark. There's Deshaun Elliott, obviously, and some more. So it's interesting what the Lions are, what we'll be doing.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what we sound like, bro? We sound like fans of a team that trusts their general manager. I'm telling you, because like at this point in time, Lions fans and us included, we're like, if Brad Holmes decided, hey, I'm not going to resign Jamal. I'd rather spend that money on Bobby Wagner, go and draft Bijan Robinson in the first round. We all think that's the right idea. Or if he decides to keep Jamal Williams and keep that X factor and keep the heart and soul of the team, move forward and use that draft capital on something else, maybe on the defensive end, we'd be cool with that too.
It's honestly like I can't remember a time where being a Lions fan, I was listening to 971. They're talking about this is the most important offseason we've had, if ever, in a long time. So just having Brad Holmes as our GM, seeing what he's done these first two drafts, knowing we got already Jameson Williams pretty much coming on a first round pick. And on top of that, two more first rounders and pick 6, a top, 6 pick, and pick 18, a top 20 pick. It's a fun time to be a Lions fan. And I'm seeing all these other franchises where I'm like looking at the Falcons, I'm looking at the Bears. I'm like, I remember we did that stuff with Trey Flowers. I remember we spent up on, stupid signings with, the Stafford era, and there was just a whole lot of mumbo jumbo. But now we saw the first 2 years. There's no more drinking the Kool-Aid because Brad Holmes is the Kool-Aid man, and he's giving it to us.
Right. And I think you see that too. You make a good point about like the Patricia era and like Trey Flowers and kind of how Bob Quinn and
Collins.
The way they kind of went about free agency and built and rebuilding the Lions is totally different than what Brad Holmes is doing. And kind of how we are all harping for like these big free agent signings like Jalen Ramsey and all that. Maybe that's just not what Brad Holmes does. Maybe he builds it in his way. He sticks to it. Like Emmanuel Mosley and Cam Sutton. We didn't talk about them. We really didn't talk. Nobody did. I didn't hear them on the radio. I didn't hear them. I didn't see their name in articles as possible pickups. But look at what Brad Holmes did. He didn't trade. You think he could have easily traded one of our third rounders for Jalen Ramsey. Maybe even been sweet and made it a second just to put it over the top. But it's all good. I mean, I trust Brad Holmes at this point.
Yeah, honestly, like that's the cool part. Because the old me was like, "Oh, we should have traded a second for Ramsey, or no, we should go out and get Slay." But I'm like, you know what? This guy, he knows something. So I'm just let Brad cook, as my generation would say. But just ultimately, just kind of, Let him just, don't try to guess. Honestly, it's at the
Right,
point. I'm at the point of my guesses are just like if I'm right or wrong, and that's going to be cool. Like, oh, me and Brad Holmes agreed. Not like, dang it, they didn't get my guy because
right,
they're
right.
all Brad Holmes guys.
Right, right. And I remember the most important off season before this, because you mentioned this could be our most important off season. I think it was the one when we picked up Glover Quinn as safety, Stephen Tulloch at linebacker, Jared Vandenbach, I believe. I don't remember, but it was like these little subtle veteran signings, kind of like what
Yep.
Brad Holmes does, that ended up being successful instead of these big splurges like what the Bears are doing right now. The Bears think that they are just going to
I
rebuild
love it, man. I
in one
love what
year.
they're doing. Like, not
I do
love,
too,
love,
because it's
but
gonna
it's just
they're gonna fall on their face with it.
if Justin Fields isn't any type of, just like
Then it doesn't matter, bro. Then it doesn't matter. They have all this money. It doesn't matter if they don't have the right quarterback, and that is very questionable. They're just totally ignoring it. The Browns, the Jaguars, the Jets, all these teams done did this in the past, 4 or 5 seasons. Oh, I got $100 million in cap. I don't have a quarterback, but I'm just gonna sign all these great defensive free agents and whatnot. It doesn't work.
and it's like, I've seen it time in, time out. Teams do it pretty much every year. There's one team that's a big spender. And I'm not saying the Bears, are going to be contenders or, even, remotely good. Don't expect them to win, more than 5, 6 games, maybe. But, anyways, they went out and spent a lot. And these are all guys, that got paid, that their egos were inflated. They were one of the top dogs on their team coming to a new team, and it's just hard to make them all mesh together because you got to think Justin Fields is he's the leader. Now you got new receivers and DJ Moore and Chase Claypool. He played with half a season, and then you just bringing in different guys on the defense where it's like, how are these two guys from two separate teams going to play together? So I think it's just
Right.
overkill sometimes, and I think Justin Fields is going to just be, hopefully, knock on wood, a perfect quarterback for the Lions, as in a way where he just strings along the Bears to where they're like, all right, well, one more year. And then it gets to like his 5th year and he gone. And the Bears wasted 5 years and tons of money and another whole regime on this.
I mean, if I was a Bears fan, honestly, I'd be excited because
It's fun. It's
they were
definitely
the
fun.
worst
I'll
team.
say that.
They were the worst team in the league,
Yeah.
and now they're signing all these great players, and they got all these draft picks. Okay, I would be excited too. I'm just saying, just remember the Lions in Detroit. Because we're there. We've been building it the right way the last couple years. And I think it's easy to forget about the Lions over the Bears because we're not making those big signings.
And then while we're talking Bears, let's talk that number one trade they just made because it kind of was minor significance for the Lions, in which you gotta, guarantee the Panthers are taking a quarterback. If it's CJ Stroud, who's the new favorite, surprisingly, or Anthony Richardson, the second favorite, or perhaps they go back to the first overall favorite from a couple, weeks, months ago, and Bryce Young. So it could be any of those three guys. They've even talked about trading the pick, but if they trade the pick, I'm almost certain it's not going to be to a team trying to acquire Will Anderson or Jalen Carter. So therefore, the Panthers were pick 9. They move up inside the top 6, and it's hopefully looking like, the dream scenario is you see 4 quarterbacks go in the first 5 picks, and the Lions get either Will Anderson or Jalen Carter.
Yeah, yeah. This trade between the Panthers and the Bears helps the Lions' chances of landing a premier defensive player to pair with Aiden Hutchinson and put our defense over the top. And really, what it does, it makes a run at quarterbacks. The Panthers are indeed going to draft a quarterback. Then the Texans are probably definitely going to draft a quarterback. And then the Cardinals are going to get offered boatloads of
Yes, yeah.
picks in order to move down for the Raiders. I don't know. It's a few teams, the Buccaneers. I don't know who wants to trade up to that spot for a quarterback. And then Indianapolis also looking for a quarterback. So it's going to be a quarterback run. Seattle might even be looking for a quarterback, or they might also be looking to trade down, or they might be looking to either get Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, and we're going to take whoever they don't.
Yeah, so honestly, like, even if the Cardinals and the Seahawks make their pick, and the Cardinals probably won't, but if Seattle, they could very well take a quarterback, and that would still be 4 out of the first 5 would be quarterbacks. So
Yeah.
got options, got
We
options.
do. We do.
Let's talk a little bit of the players we did sign. We were touching a bit on Cam Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley, but let's dive in a little more. Emmanuel Mosley signed to a 1-year, $6 million prove-it contract. He's coming off a torn ACL. It was pretty much a contract push between Tracy Walker. We redid his contract. It saved $5 million. Emmanuel Mosley cost $6 million. So pretty much a wash right there. So great move by Brad Holmes. Ultimately, this guy is coming from the 49ers, a great football team. And honestly, I hate to say it, but Valenti said it best on 97.1. If he was good enough to play for the 49ers, he's sure as hell good enough to play for the Lions.
You're quoting Mike Valenti on the Honolulu Blues show.
It was, gross.
I'm just kidding, bro. I'm just kidding. But no, that is a good point, though. That is definitely a good point because San Francisco is a known talent farm, and if you go from undrafted to starter in San Francisco, you obviously carry some sort of talent. The injury was unfortunate, but he was set. He was playing really, really, really well. He was actually set to make like $16 million a year. Look at that by Spot Track market value before his injury. He was like a top 10 corner in the league. Like he was on a come up. Unfortunately, with the injury, San Francisco not going to pay him. The Lions take the tag, and I'm pretty happy with it. I think it's a pretty low risk, high reward situation for both sides.
And then you got to imagine maybe not the 49ers. The 49ers could have very well wanted him back. But what they did before is they signed defensive lineman Javon Hargrave to a huge 4-year, I think it was either an $80 or $90 million contract. Either way, it was right below Daron Payne's and one of the biggest in the NFL. Probably the second biggest, I believe. But nonetheless, it was a big, cap move for the 49ers. So therefore, they couldn't extend a guy like Mosley, and he probably knew he's worth $16.6 million. But coming off an injury like that, it's hard to get. So looking at the Lions, see what we got going on. We got Aaron Glenn, other DBs we just brought in, Cam Sutton. It's great pass rush, and Aiden Hutchinson and whoever else we bring in. So all in all, 1 year, $6 million prove-it deal. It's very similar to what we did with DJ Chark. Worked out well last year. Yep. So I'm all on board for these prove-it deals.
I am too. Especially like we said, coming from a guy coming from San Francisco. He looked at Detroit and he saw opportunity. And he definitely have it here. And he's going to be hungry. The Lions are going to be hungry. And I'm sure that's the it factor that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell were talking about when they looking for players in the draft and in free agency. They looking for a certain type of player. Emmanuel Mosley seems like he's that type.
And then not to mention, this is another little type of like long-term thing where I was just kind of thinking about, honestly, if he pans out, now you got 2 guys, offense and defense, where you can say, look at DJ Chark. If he goes out, gets $13 million from a team or something like Jacoby Myers did, then look what we did with him. Then Emmanuel Mosley, same thing. He goes out and gets, his 14, 16 million next year. Look what we did to him. So it's just a snowball effect of, prove-it deals in which trust the Lions and we'll pay you back. But the other cornerback, Cam Sutton, the more notable guy we added from the Steelers, we gave him a 3-year, $33 million, 22.5 guaranteed contract. But he was $5 million cheaper than James Bradberry, a very similar style cornerback. Cam Sutton is better in some aspects. You could make a debate that James Bradberry is better. He did have Super Bowl experience, but Cam Sutton played with a Hall of Fame coach in Mike Tomlin, one of the best ever. So it's good to have guys from the Steelers or just, any organizations that have been around like that. But 3-year, $33 million. What was your first reaction to it, Julius?
My first reaction, I was surprised because I think we mentioned, I talked to you before the show. I did not expect the Lions to go after Cam Sutton. You know, we kept hearing the usual names like Bradbury and trading for Jalen Ramsey and the such, Jamal Dean from Tampa. You know, we didn't really hear Sutton's name that much, but after it happened, it started to make a lot of sense. You know, this is a guy who comes from another strong talent farm organization in Pittsburgh, and he is very versatile, which is something that Brad Holmes looks for in his players, especially in the secondary. He can play nickel, he can play outside, he can play safety, and he can do everything really, really good. Uh, he was one of the highest graded corners in the league the last couple seasons. To be honest, he's actually kind of locked down, and the fact at his market value, I'm gonna pull it up here real quick. I believe the Lions got a pretty good, deal. 7.6 a year. I think a lot of his contract is guaranteed up front. So I think this first season with the Lions, his cap hit is only going to be a few million, like 3 million. And then in 2024, that pops to like 12 million when his contract comes in. So it's kind of like pretty well rounded. And I think this guy can be a really good player. Him and Mosley were teammates at Tennessee together. You know, they have familiarity with each other. Brad Holmes is signing players that are already kind of meshed with each other, that can easily mesh with our culture. So I love the signing. Like I said, it was my favorite so far.
I like it. Yes. I definitely like the sign too. He is, like you said, a lockdown cornerback. For cornerback receiving yards allowed versus incompletions forced for 2022, a minimum of 60 targets. He was better than guys like AJ Terrell, James Bradbury, Patrick Peterson, Jamal Dean, DJ Reed, Tark Woolen. So some notable names in there that Cam Sutton statistically produce better. So it's gonna be nice seeing him, compete for, honestly not compete. He's probably going to be the one, but if he does have to compete for that one with Okudah or Mosley, because I think Okudah and Mosley will compete for the two, but we had expectations for Okudah. It still could pan out. You never know. And kind of same thing with Mosley. So honestly, you never know who our cornerback one could be. And honestly, it's all upside.
And it's going to make all of them better, the competition with each other. And we're forgetting about Jerry Jacobs, who is also trending upward. Coming off his injury, he played really well at the end of last season. We have kind of solidified our cornerback room, and that's the reason we're not talking about cornerbacks taking a cornerback at pick 6 or pick 18 anymore, because of these signings.
Now, see, the interesting thing is, if we did take a cornerback at 6, I mean, I wouldn't hate it. It would make us loaded on cornerback.
We'd be loaded, but we could use that. Couldn't we use that on a edge or
yeah,
interior?
I want one more Hutch type player.
We need to give Hutch. We need to invest in Aiden Hutchinson and put talent around him and James Houston and Alan McNeil and John Comiskey and add to that. You know what I'm saying? And especially since we haven't really added to the linebacker core, which I mentioned the secondary being our weakest area. Probably our linebackers are. So, if we signed Bobby Wagner and drafted Will Anderson, we talking big things, guys.
Oh my goodness,
that's the dream, right?
That
is the dream.
That's. But I don't know. I truly think Brad Holmes. I don't think we make another big splash. I think we just hold it down. What are your thoughts on DJ Chark? Do you think we bring him back? He's.
I'm not
probably 50-50 on it right now.
I'm not sure because I really don't know what Holmes thinks he's worth. Because that was supposed to be his 1-year prove-it deal, kind of just like what we gave to Mosley.
And he's kind of right back where he was.
Did he prove it? or does he need another 1 year prove it deal, or did he prove it enough to get an extension? Or
Yeah.
are they negotiating about how, because the player is always going to think he's worth more than the team might think, you know. And DJ
Yeah.
Shark, would be paying him to practically be a number 3 stretch receiver. What is that contract worth? So I don't know. I don't know about DJ Shark.
It's interesting too because we gave him a 1 year, 10 million last year, and the three wide receivers that have signed were Al Lazard, hey, 11 million for a 4 year, which is hilarious. The Jets did that, which we'll get into that Rodgers talk a little later. But next one was an 11 million 3 year, 33 million total for Jacoby Myers, which that looks pretty good. And then Robert Woods, 2 years, 15 million, a 7.625.
You don't want to pay any of those guys. I'm telling you right now, you don't. Especially if you're the Detroit Lions, especially if you're the Detroit Lions and you're Brad Holmes and you drafted Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 4th round a couple years ago. You got Jameson Williams coming on. You don't. We got to pay Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's gonna be due for extension after next season. So we can't just be giving out this kind of money to these kind of veteran type receivers.
I know. Yeah. He is. It's a tough situation. I think we are. If we do bring him back, I think it will be a 2 year. Something where it's enough to get Shark paid, but he can make it work where Amon Ra doesn't get his big payday right away. It comes
Right.
halfway end of the year, whatever through his next extension. So
Yeah.
I'm confident in him. I'm confident. Some of the re-signings. We did make a few splashes. We brought back Anzalone. That's probably the most interesting, questionable head scratch, or whatever you want to call it, because it's got a lot of people talking. Some people hate it. Some people like it. Some people love it. I don't know. It was a 3 year, $18.75 million contract. We know who Anzalone is, but I'm going to go out and say it. What he did last year, that is now expected. If he does not do anything better than that or the exact same, then it's a bad contract, and that's a Brad Holmes swing and miss. But if he starts performing better and better and better, oh my gosh, then Brad Holmes, you're a freaking genius, man, because this guy was, not the best in New Orleans, not the best even his first year with Detroit. But once he had Dan Campbell, I'll give him some credit as well. And Brad Holmes, he, got the ball rolling, and now he's a team captain, kind of our defensive leader. So, we were talking about who the voice of the defense was. Could it be Bobby Wagner, Levante David, etc.? But ultimately, it is Anzalone. So hopefully he can keep this ball rolling. Maybe teach, Malcolm Rodriguez a thing or two, because I do believe Rodrigo, once he knows he's respected, which I think he's very close to, if not there, then he's going to take over as that, dominant linebacker, because Rodrigo is a talented dude. He just is kind of a little raw and kiddish sometimes.
I agree. And this Alex Anzalone, it makes you think that we might not get a Bobby Wagner or a Levante David. And that's kind of scary because, like I just mentioned, our linebackers are still kind of unproven. You know what I'm saying? We kind of haven't added to. I mean, Malcolm Rodriguez was a big addition, but we need another big addition to kind of fulfill what we need from that position group. So I don't know if they're going to look at the draft or if they're going to actually add another veteran like a Bobby Wagner, which would be perfect. So you could have Bobby Wagner, Alex Anzalone stack, and you could just have Malcolm Rodriguez roaming, which is what he does best.
Yeah, it does sound nice. I'm at the point where I'm just like, what's going on here? Like, there's something else to this,
Because it's pretty much keeping Anzalone in Detroit pretty much for the rest of his career, next couple years at least. So,
and I probably will say there probably is some sort of out. Probably not next year, but for the first 2 years, I would say. I doubt it's like a good contract. Up there goes my phone.
There's a ton of incentives in this contract, I believe. So it's not that big of a like a a financial tie down for the Lions. It's just telling us that Alex Anzalone is going to be the starter at linebacker going into next season, and maybe
Exactly.
going into the next 2 seasons.
Yeah, that's
And
exactly
he was
right.
inconsistent. He wasn't just a dog veteran captain that just held down our defense. No, he had his ups and he had his downs. So hopefully we add to.
He like 2 years ago, he was like I'll say like 35 good play, 75 or 65 bad play. Then the next year, he kind of flipped it. So 65 good play, 35 bad play. Well, still some bad plays, but as long as he can keep that trend going, all
But
right.
can he? Because he's an aging veteran. Can he keep that trend going? The Lions might need a Bobby Wagner to supplant that, kind of have that going. Or do they really want to draft a linebacker that high in the draft? Is there any worth that they should be eyeing
I
at
think we
18, like
will.
Trent Simpson or Jack Campbell or somebody? Would that be enough to add to?
Yeah, I think so. Or honestly, like maybe Brad Holmes just like goes, no, I'm taking linebacker fourth, fifth, and sixth round, and we're gonna get a gem out of one of these
It's crazy.
guys.
That would be crazy because to me, Alex Anzalone did not do enough to re-signing him is not enough to make me feel good about the linebacking position for the Lions.
I think it's gonna get to we keep him 2 years. Third year, it's gonna be like we cut him, we could save some money, and now we got these two whoever rookies coming in off of year one and year two. Rodrigo's looking primed and good, and Barnes, who knows?
If Bobby Wagner won a couple extra million, just I'm talking about. Look, what's Bobby Wagner's at? What he's looking for? 1 year, 10 million, 2 year, 20 million. Let's do it. Let's do it. You know what I'm saying? We have the cap.
Hell, I would give him.
He would fit right in. He
Yeah,
probably knows Brad Holmes personally from the days back from the Rams and the Seahawks. I'm sure that there's a connection.
that's a good point too. Yeah, yeah. It's a hope and a dream.
Let's see what happens.
Some other guys: John Kaminsky, 2 year, 8.75 million. Isaiah Buggs, 2 year, 6 million. Both of these look pretty nice to me.
Definitely, both contracts look good. They both deserve what they got, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. And 2 years is it's the perfect, not too long, not too short. Because who knows? It might be a one and done. It has happened in the NFL. It's not uncommon. But, Kaminsky and Bugs, they showed me enough to where I believe they could be somewhat of contributors. And if we bring in a guy like Carter Anderson, they could be a force.
Most definitely, and the Lions are already lacking on the inside defensive line. You don't want to take away and try to replace that from year to year. You want to keep the good parts and try to add to it, and that's exactly what Brad Holmes is doing. So it works.
Yeah, I guess, and then some other news around the NFL. Some trades did happen. Darren Waller went for a third rounder. That was kind of interesting. Ramsey went for a third rounder too, and then even Stephon Gilmore went to the Cowboys for a fifth rounder. So obviously Ramsey, I think we all would have given up a third round pick for Jalen Ramsey, even though he got his contract rework, guaranteed money, etc. But any of those three guys stick out to you where you would have maybe offered the same or a little more?
Between what was the other two guys? I'm sorry.
Waller, Ramsey, or Stephon Gilmore. Waller for third, Ramsey for third, or Gilmore for a fifth.
No, none of those. Waller, no. Waller, he's
They
too
all have
injury
weird
prone.
contracts, I will say.
He's too injured. Waller is too injury prone. Stephon Gilmore is a shell of himself. Uh, and the Lions aren't doing that no more. They're not signing
That's a good point.
these veteran corners for 1 year rentals. Who did they sign to go with Jeff Okudah's rookie season? I forgot who it was. He didn't even last.
Um,
there's been all kind of guys to come through here that
I know we've done a bunch.
are past their heyday. And I think the Lions are done with that. That's why they signed Emmanuel Mosley, Cameron Sutton. These guys are 26, 27 years old, and they are in their prime, and they are ready to contribute and push Jeff Okuda and Jerry Jacobs to the next level.
I agree. It's going to be interesting just to see how the rest of this free agency breaks up, because this only is day 2 of the legal tampering period, whatever you call it. I think actual free agency starts tomorrow. I don't know.
The
Maybe not.
15th, I believe the 15th.
Okay.
Yeah.
When is that? Is that tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. Both correct. Yeah. So I don't know if that will change anything. I don't know if there's some players that are like, oh no, I'm only negotiating during. I don't know, but I find it hilarious. I was listening to Fantasy Footballers how they call it legal tampering, because legal is like, oh, okay, that's good, but tampering's like, no, that's you can't be doing this. So legal like what?
Yeah.
Very NFL.
The teams get away with it. Definitely, they definitely get away with it.
Yes, I do think we bring back Jamal Williams to answer some of these contracts questions. Julius, if we had to bring him back, what would you give him? What's a good contract? We originally signed him to a 2-year, $6 million contract. So
I would re-sign Jamal Williams to a 2-year, $9 million contract with $5 million guaranteed. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
And I'll ride with Jamal Williams. I really would. Now,
I agree.
DeAndre Swift next season is more questionable, but Jamal Williams, I don't have a problem with that.
Man, could you imagine if I'm on the same boat. Give him a good guarantee. Probably I would say like 60-70% of whatever his total contract is, because it's not going to be massive. We've seen running backs, they've hit rock bottom. Austin Eckler's asking for a trade. Do you hope we draft Jalen Carter, Bijan, and Jack Campbell? That would be a nice little trio. Depends what we do with the rest of the free agency. If we don't re-sign Jamal, then that would work out pretty well. But if we do re-sign Jamal,
trio.
Yeah.
If we didn't re-sign Jamal, but we drafted Jalen Carter at 6, drafted Bijan at 18, and drafted Jack Campbell at 48, that'd be perfect. That's an A+ draft.
Yeah, Campbell, he's an interesting guy. Yeah. And also, same last name as the head coach, so there's got to be some sort of boost there. For a hot second, I did not do any of my research, and someone did not make me fully believe that it was Dan Campbell's son, but I was like, no way. And then I was like, oh wait, no, definitely no way. But hey, who knows? They could be related. But all in all, what's better than one Campbell? 2.
Exactly. I'll take 2 Campbells. And Jamal Williams, if he comes back, he can you can give him 1 year guaranteed, like make it easy to get out of one after 1 year, It doesn't have to be like total for the running backs, but he deserves a raise.
Yeah, definitely. He earned it too, and it's kind of interesting that it's taking this long, but we'll see. We will see what happens.
We'll see.
Real quick, another question or thing that just popped in my head while we were talking about Swift. If Swift goes out and plays 15 games, hits all his overs on his receiving, rushing, and just looks like good, what do you do with them? Do you trust?
If he doesn't have a typical DeAndre Swift season where he looks good for 4 games and then he's injured for 10 games.
Let's say good for like 13 to 15.
13 to 15. That would be great for DeAndre.
Lions make the playoffs if that happens.
Oh, it would depend on his impact on the offense, right? Because there were some games with DeAndre Swift I want all our listeners to hear this. There were some games, there were like 2 or 3 games. I'm not even going to go into the details, but where he was our best player on the field. Like on our team, DeAndre Swift was our best player. And if he can give us more of that and we win more games, we might want to keep DeAndre Swift. Because there's not many running backs
His
that are that electric with the ball in their hands. I can name like Alvin Kamara, Austin Eckler, who's on the trade block. Uh, I mean, Derrick Henry, he's a mammoth. But there aren't that many running backs where you give them the ball and they're gone, like DeAndre Swift can do.
it's You make a great point because we've seen the games, the few that he's been in, where like when he gets the ball, he's electric. Like if you think DeAndre Swift, I guarantee you will think of some electric play he did. And we think Jamal Williams, you think like 1 yard touchdown. So nothing against Jamal Williams, but it just goes to show what like
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift could be if he stays healthy. So that is the
Exactly.
big head scratcher. It's like his health, his overall impact, because we saw it with Jamal. Honestly, if Jamal's was not this locker room personality he was or is, I don't think we re-sign him, and I don't think a lot of Lions fans are on the board of re-signing him, even if he breaks Barry Sanders' record, just because granted, what he did was great, but if you put LeGarrette Blunt in there, if you put, some other running backs in there, could they do
Same
it
team
too?
could have had Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, it's like probably, but he brings a whole new aspect to the locker room, which honestly we don't know how many drives, games where he was in the locker room, the huddle, whatever, pumping up the team, saying some sort of motivational speech, and then not to mention all his phenomenal quotes he's given us.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, he's worth it. If we're gonna roll with DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams next season again, just maybe add. We got Craig Reynolds right there. Maybe if that's what we rolling with at running back, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I agree as well. To wrap up some of these Lions re-signings, we tendered 5 exclusive rights to 5 guys. Brock Wright, Scott Daly, Shane Zylstra. Say that 5 times fast. I need to tell him that next time. Next time we talk to him, say your name 5 times fast. Benito Jones and Anthony Pittman. So pretty much some mildly notable guys. Brock Wright, nice to have him, locked down. But all in all, anyone, I guess, out of all these, Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, Anzalone, Kaminsky, Bugs, Reynolds, etc. What do you give the first, 2 days of Lions legal tampering free agency period, grade wise?
I give it an A, and the reason I give it an A,
Interesting.
the reason I give the Lions free agency period an A so far is because we didn't really lose nobody. It ain't like Jamal
Yeah.
Williams. Jamal Williams got signed to a $12 million contract by the Chargers or whoever got interest in him. But DJ Shark, there's still a lot of guys that we're hoping to get back. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
I
that's a
give it an
great
A.
point.
Give it an A. Yeah.
I'm A is, if we got Bobby Wagner, I'd give it an A. I give it an A plus actually. But as of right now, Anzalone, trust Holmes and I don't. I'm like, I don't know more than Brad Holmes, so why am I trying to question this guy? But then again, I'm like, I don't know.
We we have not subtracted from what we had.
That's a great,
We've
yeah.
only added. Now Cam Sutton and Emmanuel Mosley might not be like a huge. It's not like a Jalen Ramsey trade or even signing Trey Flowers. Remember at the time,
Or even
2015 or whatever.
Snacks Harrison, he was another guy that popped in my head.
Like these other big names we've had in the past, but
He was a trade.
it was addition, what I'm saying? And we didn't lose anybody. We only added, and there's still a lot of time
Yeah,
left, and a lot of guys still left to decide. Jamal Williams, a big one.
that's it. Yeah, that's great. Good
We should
point you
ask
have
this
there.
question. We should ask this question about the grade again next week, because
Point, yeah.
because then
I
we'll
like that.
see.
I think it will be different. Yes.
We lost Jamal Williams, or we resigned Jamal Williams. We lost DJ Shark, or we resigned DJ Shark. We signed Bobby Wagner. No, we just gonna resign Alex Anzalone. We're probably looking at a linebacker in the draft. So it just makes the grading a lot different.
I agree. You make a great point. We didn't really lose anyone, knock on wood, yet. And there's still, all the big names out there like Elliott, Chark, and of course Jamal Williams. So if we, lock those guys back, yes, I think we're right on the course of an
I
A.
think Slay is definitely not coming back to Detroit now.
Yeah, I don't think
That
so
was a
either. I think
dream.
that's hope and a dream. Another former Lion that we ain't getting, Matt Prater, unfortunately signed a 2-year deal. I guess he's still kicking at 38 years with the Cardinals. Probably enjoys that sunny warmness, whatever you want to call it. But hopefully it's going to be Jake Moody that's going to be our kicker.
I'm hoping too. Go
But
Blue.
to grade these first 2 days for me, I give it I would say a B minus, in which there's been a couple players where I have kind of wanted, or I guess
Like who?
TJ
Who
Edwards.
got away? You wanted TJ Edwards?
Bears, yes. TJ Edwards, I would have probably wanted him over Anzalone. But like I've been preaching, I trust Brad Holmes more than I trust myself. So that's obviously the right decision. I was wrong. I'll own up to that one. And I'm pretty sure it was just him. Ultimately,
Oh, did we lose? Did we lose Adam? We lost Adam. Well, I guess I'm finished the show. Thanks everybody for listening. Are you coming back, Adam? No, he's frozen. Frozen. I can't believe he gave the Lions free agency a B minus too. That's kind of not great, right? The first 2 days. Great show, guys. Thanks for watching.